Good evening. Welcome to the August 26th Lebanon City Council meeting. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, move on to the roll call members. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mike Kincaid.
Present.
Keith Campbell.
Here.
Sandra Jasonowski.
Present.
Dick Robertson.
Here.
John Copeland.
Here.
Sierra Messenger is excused this evening, and Robert Hawkins.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, move on to the approval of minutes from our previous meetings. We've got a couple, May 13th, May 28th, June 10th, and June 24th. So any changes or edits to those minutes? Entertained a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for May 13th,
June, you mean June 10th and June 24th?
June 10th.
Yep. Yep. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Rob. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are approved. All right. First thing tonight, we've kind of a special occasion here. In honor of Center Stage's Theater's 30th anniversary, I wanted to issue a city proclamation on their behalf. So I'll read the proclamation here and then I'll present it to, I don't know, Kevin, if you're going to have come receive it, but we'll.
Well, I'm going to have the two be so kind that the board members, the president, vice president, and we're going.
Perfect. Sounds good. All righty. Well, thank you, Kevin, for organizing it. So whereas Center Stage Theater was established in 1994, and whereas Center Stage was created here in Lebanon by a small group of 10 founding members, and whereas Center Stage Theater is the only philanthropic theater that exists solely within the boundaries of Lebanon, Indiana, and whereas Center Stage and its members continue to embrace friendships made on many stages and unwavering support from our patrons and volunteers, and whereas each year our local theater hosts guests near and far, representing 24 counties in Indiana, 90 different zip codes, and 10 states beyond Indiana. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Mayor Matt Gentry, Mayor of the City of Lebanon, Indiana, to recognize Lebanon's Center Stage for 30 years of service to the City of Lebanon and its surrounding community, proclaim the week of August 26th or the 30th, 2024, as Center Stage Week, and further direct this proclamation to become part of the official records of the City of Lebanon, Indiana. So there we go. So if you want to have the board come up, we'll take our photo, and if you guys want to say some words, it'd be great.
A couple of really good actors there.
We're very proud of what we do at Center Stage. The arts are important. Before a child can speak, they sing. As soon as they stand, they dance. Before they can read and write, they paint and draw. The arts are important to a community. And 30 years ago, these wonderful founders saw that vision, and we're so proud to be able to carry it on. We've got a real jewel here in Lebanon. People come from all over the state to see shows at our place. The last year we took a survey, we had people from 10 different states other than Indiana coming here to see what we do. We're very proud of what we do. Thank you.
The city's proud of you as well, and so appreciate it, and thank you for giving me the chance to give you that proclamation, and again, declare this week as Center Stage Week. So tell all your friends, big great news. So thank you so much. And if you want to stay, feel free, or if we need to recess, or if you guys want to leave, I won't hold it against you. Your choice. So. All right. We'll stay at a recess for 2 minutes. Thank you, guys. All right, we're back now for the recess. We'll adjourn. Okay. Move on to old business. I have nothing on my agenda. Is there anything from council? Okay. New business then. First item is ordinance 2024-12. Council consideration and annexation of Talder LLC property, which is at 2301 East, 100 South. And this is on first reading. Ben.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me get plugged in here real quick. All right. Sure I got my right folder. All right. So this is an annexation, first reading before you tonight. This is a 100% voluntary annexation of property that you see here on the screen, highlighted in yellow. This is, let me get my numbers here. This is, it's not on that one either. I was going to say the acreage, but I have to find it first. 80 acres. All right. Okay, so this is an 80-acre piece of property. It's under contract from Henke and Associates, Henke Development, to incorporate this into the Waterford development. So this is the property you see highlighted here in terms of location. Directly along the north side of the property is 100 South, and then you can see I-65 just off the screen a little bit to the west. Fairgrounds are just up to the left of the top part of this map here. And then what you probably can't read because it's in orange is all these properties all either say Henke Development or the Waterford Club. And so this is kind of the northwest corner of the main part of the Waterford development here. So the intention is Henke Development has this under contract and intends to incorporate this into the overall Waterford development. Actually, there's two properties over here to the west that they also have under contract will be included in the Waterford development, but those are already in the city. So this one, the first step we worked out with them was to get this parcel annexed. And then the expectation then is that they would come back through with an amendment to their PUD ordinance to incorporate these properties into the overall development concept for Waterford. So this was a property that was a whole. So this is a voluntary annexation before you tonight. This was in front of the Plan Commission last week to consider potential zoning for this property. And this comes you with a 6-0 favorable recommendation to assign the R1 residential zoning classification for the property, which is our default zoning classification. Again, the anticipation is they'll come back through at a future date with a PUD ordinance rezone to include these properties. So we just wanted to bring it in under our default residential zoning classification, anticipated that happening later. So that is what's before you here tonight. This is the first reading of the ordinance and the required public hearing, and then it'll come back forward to you at your next meeting for the second reading and potential adoption along with the fiscal plan. So with that, I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Any questions for Ben from council on this? Okay. Rob, can you read, please?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Ordinance 2024-12, again, is an ordinance annexing certain territory to the city of Lebanon. Whereas 100% of the owners of the parcels proposed for annexations are identified in Exhibits A and B, which is defined as the annexation area, have filed a voluntary petition with this council pursuant to Indiana law. The City of Lebanon Advisory Plan Commission held a public hearing at its meeting on August 19, 2024, and forwarded docket 24-26 to this council, again with a favorable recommendation 6-0 to assign the residential R1 zoning classification for the annexation area. This council will conduct a public hearing on this date, August 26, 2024. This council will adopt a fiscal plan for the annexation of the annexation area in accordance with Indiana law, and the annexation area meets the contiguity requirements required by Indiana law. Whereas this council finds that the annexation area, again, generally located on the south side of East 100 South, approximately 1 mile east of I-65, and adjacent to the existing corporate limits along the western, southern, and eastern boundaries of the annexation area, is hereby declared annexed to and declared to be a part of the city of Lebanon. The annexation area is further to include the contiguous public highways and right-of-ways, which are adjacent to the annexation area. It's also assigned Council District 2 and shall become a part thereof immediately upon the effective date of this ordinance. And again, it's assigned the residential R1 zoning classification will be in full force and effect in accordance with Indiana law.
Thank you, Rob. Any questions for Rob? The ordinance been read? Okay. At this time, then, I'll open the public hearing on ordinance 2024-12. If you need public comment, please come forward, state your name for the record, and keep comments to 3 minutes if possible. Seeing no sudden movements, I will close the public hearing on resolution ordinance 2024-12. We will take that up at our next council meeting, which will be September 9th at 7:15 p.m. All right. Next up will be ordinance 2024-13. Council to consider amended PUD ordinance for Hickory Junction. This is also on first reading. Ben.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we all are very familiar with the Hickory Junction property and the field house itself. It's up and running and being very successful. And then Belcanto is also well underway on the construction of their multifamily apartments that are out there in the project. In the last couple months and working with the folks at Cardin Associates, they're starting to look at the signage for the field house. And then also are working with several of their potential tenants on the site, and had in reviewing with those tenants and their what their needs are, and then looking at the PUD ordinance that was adopted a few years ago, we just discovered a couple of things that really needed some minor modifications to be able to accommodate those things. And what I suggested to them at the time is, while we're doing it, that ordinance, when it was adopted previously, referenced our previous our UDO version that we just replaced a couple of months ago in February. So what I suggest to him, so while we're addressing a couple of those minor things that you guys would like to see, let's also just go ahead and update the PUD ordinance so it references all the new sections of the UDO that are appropriate, since there was a reason we decided to adopt a new UDO with those modified and modernized standards. Let's go ahead and make sure we address those things and make sure that they reference the new ordinance as well. So that's what this did. And I can kind of go through it quickly. I know I sent a draft of this around with the sections highlighted that where the changes were located. Primarily, like I said, what we're wanting to do is modernize this so it reflected the current UDO rather than the previous version. But in terms of larger changes, before I get into this, let me pull this up so that I can make reference to. Yes, sir.
For those that are watching at home, would you explain what a PUD and a UDO are?
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm using acronyms so a PUD, actually, I'll start with the UDO. So that's the Unified Development Ordinance. And that is the ordinance that's established for the entire city, that establishes zoning districts and the standards associated with those zoning districts. And then also standards when you build something, what you need to follow in order to do that. And that could be a building, that could be a sign, that could be a fence, but it establishes the rules and requirements for how you do things citywide. What the PUD is, and that's a planned unit development, is that establishes a series of standards and ordinance or rules specific to a site. So in this case, the Hickory Junction site, the 95-acre site that's right there at State Road 3965, what they did is they looked at our Unified Development Ordinance and said, okay, we need to modify a few of those standards to really accommodate what we're trying to do on the site. So we're going to write a planned unit development ordinance that writes standards specific to this site where they would modify things from our Unified Development Ordinance. So that's what they've done here is about, I think it's 2022, they wrote a planned unit development ordinance specific to the site. It did reference our previous UDO version, Unified Development Ordinance version. And so what we want to do then is with this new one, we want to make sure all those references go to the new Unified Development Ordinances just adopted in February, because those are the standards we want to apply moving forward as that new ordinance. But then there's also a couple other things that they wanted to modify in the Planned Unit Development Ordinance in order to accommodate some of their new tenants, potential tenants for the site. And one of them is, if they want to go ahead and pull the screen up again. So this is the overall site. To orient you, this kind of purplish color, this is where the field house building sits itself. And then they've got a couple of parking lots to the north that are constructed, and then one to the south that's constructed. And then kind of this tan color to the bottom is the Belcanto Apartments. And then Enterprise Drive runs through between the two of those here. So one of the first thing that was changed is previously there were two districts in here. And one was the field house district and one was the residential district. And really everything that was green and purple was the field house district, and then the tan was the residential district. What they've done is they've created a new mixed use district that could potentially be either commercial or residential. And that was to accommodate some potential things that Belcanto is looking at investing in the future, some additional apartments, multifamily that they might consider in the future. So they wanted to create a district that could have the flexibility to be either commercial or residential if Belcanto decided to make those investments. So that's the first change, is there was an additional district called the mixed use district that was added that allows both commercial and residential uses. And then that allows them the flexibility to allow Belcanto to move forward some additional investments if they so choose. Let's see. The other change that would be notable would be the fact that there's specific language in here for gas stations. Now with the new Unified Development Ordinance, gas stations are permitted on this site because of the fact that there is another gas station that exists, the Flying J, across the street. So at that intersection with Flying J, the current Unified Development Ordinance would allow additional gas stations there subject to some additional standards. And so what they wanted to do was first just to make sure specifically that it's written in here that it is allowed. And then they did modify a couple of things based on one tenant that they're potentially going to look at here. And it's not that they wanted to be able to make the gas station significantly larger than one permit, but the way that they set up their fueling dispensers, they kind of cluster them. And so the canopy needed to be bigger than what we allowed, at least from a width perspective. And so what they've done is they modified it slightly, whereas we only allow 30-foot wide canopies adjacent to the State Road 39. They wanted it to be 50 so that they could double up the fueling dispensers. So rather than having a really, really long canopy, they wanted it clustered more. So that required the canopy to be slightly wider. So they've increased it from 30 to 50 feet to allow for that. And then also, ironically, they wanted more parking spaces than what we allow, because in our new ordinance, we have maximum parking requirements. And because of the type of gas station they're looking at, they have a lot more employees because they have some food prep and food service in there. And then they also have a lot more customers that park and come into the store because of some of those additional services they provide. So they actually need more parking spaces than what our ordinance allows because of the services that are provided there. So they actually wanted to write in there the amount of parking spaces they would need for that potential tenant, which is actually more than what we allow currently because some of the service they provide are a little bit more than what you see in a typical gas station. Primarily, the rest of the changes in here are really just to change references to the new Unified Development Ordinance, just changing references to the correct articles and chapters. The only other significant change actually that made this quite a bit shorter is whereas previously they had written specific sign standards in the last PUD ordinance, and this one they eliminated all those because they liked the way our new UDO addressed signs. And so they, rather than having specific sign standards for the development, they just wanted to adhere to the new UDO sign standards from the ordinance that we adopted in February. So they eliminated that entire section of specific standards and just say, we're just going to meet all of the signage standards of the new UDO. And that really kind of addresses all the changes. Like I said, the gas station and signage were the two major changes, along with the new sub-district. And then everything else is really just references that were adjusted to match up with the new UDO. So that's the end of my explanation there. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any related to that.
Any questions for Ben on that from council?
Thank you for explaining that to the people who watch.
Yes. I forget that when I'm using the acronyms and not everybody knows what those are.
Yeah, Ben,
Yes, sir.
did I see something in the paper that they can't connect the road across the other gas station?
That's correct. NDOT, because of their separation requirements from the interstate, will not allow that existing signal to be used as a full access signal.
Effect on what they're wanting to do?
I can tell you that, but I'll pull this back up because my computer just went to sleep. So what they're actually going to do is so that existing signal is right here. And so there is no access there. What they've done and what NDOT will allow is there's actually full access further south, actually a couple of different places where they have full access. And so NDOS reviewed this and has found this to be acceptable. But when this signal was originally put up, the separation requirement, I believe, was 600 feet, and now it's 1,000 feet. So that one's too close to meet NDOT standards now, so they won't allow full access there. They're also concerned because obviously coming from the other direction, there's a lot of trucks trying to turn left, and they're afraid with traffic coming from the east side that trucks won't be able to get through that signal, and trucks backing up. So they had some reasons, understandable reasons, but what we've done then is worked with Card and Associates to modify their access plan to still allow them appropriate access to the site without using that signal.
Quick question. Do they have an area well, you took the map down. A designated area they're looking at for that gas station?
Yeah, I believe the site, it's here at the north, and I maybe I'll have Dan. Is it the far north one? That's correct. So it would be this one that would be right here. It would have been at the intersection if there was an intersection, but it would be this site here at the far north, so catty corner from Flying J.
They have a lot size or area that they're looking at?
I think it's it's a couple, like 1.5, 2 acres. It's a little bit larger gas station, and more from a perspective of the actual building itself is bigger because, again, like I said, they provide some food service and stuff inside. So if it's a little bit more of a full service type of station rather than just convenience station.
Gas station, not a truck stop.
Correct.
Other questions for Ben before I have Rob read it? Rob?
Thank you, Mayor. Council. Ordinance 2024-13 again is a Hickory Junction PU District ordinance that amends original ordinance 2022-06. Whereas, again, the city of Lebanon is subject to the Unified Development Ordinance, UDO, as Ben indicated. This council adopted ordinance 2022-06 on March 28, 2022, establishing the Hickory Junction PUD District and all the associated land use development and design standards. Whereas due to the needs and desires of potential users and tenants of the Hickory Junction District, it has become necessary to consider amendments to the Hickory Junction PUD District. The City of Lebanon Advisory Plan Commission considered docket 24-20, requesting an amendment to the Hickory Junction PUD District ordinance with regard to the real estate described in Exhibit A. The Plan Commission forwarded docket 24-20 after its public hearing to this council with a favorable recommendation by a vote of 6-0 in accordance with Indiana law. And the commission forwarded its certified action to this council on August 20th, 2024. This council is subject to the provisions of Indiana law. And again, it's been submitted, went through all the different provisions of the amendments to the PUD ordinance. I'll just highlight those. I know you've seen them both in clean and red line version, but you have section 1 talks about the applicability of the ordinance. You have definitions. Section 3, again, changes some of the reference to the concept plan. Section 4 has similar provisions in the underlying zoning district. Section 5 discusses the permitted uses, and Section 6 is the overlay districts. Section 7 is a few pages dealing with the various general regulations. Section 8 is the development standards, which have a few different amendments, again, that have been addressed. Section 9 is the design standards. Section 8, again, is dealing with the gas station amendments that he addressed. Then Section 10 deals with the pedestrian network standards, the permitting and procedures, and Section 12 deals with the vacation of right-of-ways.
Thank you, Rob. Ordinance been read on first reading. We'll take that up at our next meeting, which will be September 9th at 7:15 p.m. Any final comments, questions from council on that one? Nope. Okay. So the final vote next time. All right. Next up will be a food and beverage requests for several park fencing and portalet enclosure projects in town. John? So we kind of can tag team this one with you. I'll introduce this one. So this I guess, idea kind of sparked out of a couple things. For I guess there's kind of two main things happening here. The first one is we heard feedback from the Parks Board, correct, John, on the fence at Reese Park.
Yes,
We
we
installed-
put the paving up, and what they want to do is keep the kids from running through the cars and getting out in the streets. So they want two openings, kind of channel the kids in and out, just safer for them. And
just
with that-
make sure there's no soccer balls, anything like that coming out
Right.
into the street with that. So that was one thing we were looking at. But then also some feedback we've been hearing over the years is availability of restroom facilities at several of our parks around town, specifically at the Hot Pond in Outer Longley Park, Stony Deer Bike Park, and then also the trailhead of the Big Four Trail up on Sam Ralston by Menards. And so, a few years ago, we kind of constructed a kind of the downtown portalet. You guys have seen that kind of behind that nice black fencing. And frankly, it's worked very well for us. Instead of having to bring in portalets for every event anymore, we kind of a semi-permanent setup there. And it's worked very well. So essentially, spoke with Kevin, with John of kind of what we need around our different parks, and thought that could be an applicable solution to apply for, instead of trying to build $750,000
That's a lot of money.
last restroom.
Yes.
We kind of were going for these more closures for them. Certainly, it's a little bit more visually appealing than just having yellow portalets or blue or pink, whatever company they're coming from, sitting out just visible. We wanted to kind of have some type of way to enclose them, and also provide a little bit of a space too, that if someone wanted to change their clothing, things like that too, they could close those and have some screening there. So what we did is we essentially went out and got solicited quotes for each of these individual projects. We got proposals back from some companies, but mainly one company responded to all of those. And so essentially the Capital City Fencing, and this is who the Board of Works did award these projects to if the council chooses to fund them, for these essentially 6 projects, the one fencing, and then also the enclosures at Reese Park, Stony Deer Bike Park, the trailhead, Outer Longley Park over next to the dog park, and then also across the street at Hot Pond Park as well too. So that was so the total number I have from Kevin is the 145.9. Is that right, John?
Yes.
So that was the total for the Reese Park fencing. The quote for that was 17,000, and then so we have 2 18 by 18 enclosures at Reese Park and at the Big Four Trailhead. Those were 22.2 each, and then also the 12 by 12 enclosures at Stony Deer Bike Park, the Abner Longley Park next to the dog park, and then also the Hot Pond. Those were 17.5 each for those. So again, it's a kind of a concrete pad with a walk up to it with the kind of black metal fencing around that. So really just wanted to kind of present this to council. Again, we got quotes for it. Were we funding the bike park one though from not the bike park, the trailhead from the American Rescue Plan funds?
American Rescue Plan, we really put that in this project because there's a lot going into that trailhead. So we did put it in here. But
Okay, so we're making a separate request. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And
So
those were the lowest, most responsive bids that we had.
So the idea was, how do we provide those restroom facilities for visitors and for our patrons of our parks in essentially a cost-effective and efficient manner? And we found this to be that made the most sense to stretch the kind of the dollar the furthest. So, so the request tonight then is a not to exceed $145,900 to complete the 5 enclosures and the parking fence as well too. So, John, anything else you want to say? Sorry.
So they just look nice, and the galvanized, if you've seen the ones downtown, they are not as, they're better on the eyes. That's all I got to say.
One question about the fence at Reese Park.
Yes.
Is it going to go so far and you're going to have an opening so people can go in and out?
Yes, going to have a couple openings there. We've left it open, but that's basically where all the new parking lot that you guys provided for us.
Just
Yeah.
thinking it was gonna be a
Channel
long
them
way
in
to
rather
walk
than
all the way
that, kids
around.
running in between the cars, a ball running out.
I
Yeah, yeah.
drove by. and
Channeling the kids. Yeah.
I drove by it and saw all that stuff. And I thought, yeah, it makes sense.
That coming out food and beverage?
Yeah, the request will be out of the food and beverage fund. Questions? Well,
Don,
Just make sure there's no questions.
46,000, that other, does that go into that total?
You say for the trailhead, or you mean
What is out there at the trailhead?
The-
46,000.
the 22.2 for the Big Four trailhead? That is part of this, because again, when we did all the quotes for the trailhead, there were,
That'll be a handicap and another. That'll be two portalets in the one.
it's within the 145.9. Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Any questions? Everybody make sense with it? Everybody happy with it?
It's me, yeah.
Okay.
I make a motion, we approve $145,900 for project.
Okay. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that's approved. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
And also too, another benefit, we can get those built pretty quickly too. It's
Yeah,
not
they
like
can.
we
They
gotta-
get out there pretty quick.
They can get the
That's
concrete
great.
down and get the fences up and get those going for public. So, all right. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, council. All right, that concludes what I have for new business. Anything from you guys? Okay, move on to claims. Entertain a motion concerning the claims.
Make a motion to pay the claims.
Motion to pay the claims. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Sandra. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Claims are approved. Any announcements or discussion? No? Okay. You made like you want to say something.
I just was looking, you said it was 75,000 to build.
Oh, no, 750,000.
750.
When we built the restroom next to the baseball diamond in Memorial Park in 2019, so also pre-COVID pricing, it was $750,000. Okay, yeah.
I just think
Little-
it's a no-brainer.
Little cheaper, right? Yeah, there we go.
Just for reference, the other new ones we built at Memorial and then Abner Longley several years ago were like $80,000 a piece.
Right. Yeah. So those
That makes more sense.
got a little crazy. So whenever you have a split face block in masonry, it starts to kind of get pricey. So again, these are, we see them too as call it semi-permanent, right? I mean, if one day we wanted to do more of a permanent full-on structure, we could, right? But again, also balancing that with making sure the funds we have available to accomplish the most impact for them. So, okay. Unless there's any other announcements or discussion, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Sandra. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, our next city council meeting will be September 9th at 7:15 PM. We are adjourned.